Hey, welcome everyone back to the channel. It's your boy Carlos, and as you know, we're going to go through the process of making a song, which then later will turn into a music video. Usually when I'm working on a project, what I try to do is collect as much information about that thing. Like I recently wrapped up this logo for my friend Simone that was on the Food Network and stuff. I try to gather as much information about that thing, that project, or that arena, so then that way I understand the language that's associated to what my client is what they're trying to do, right? I'm trying to get that language so when we're going back and forth, I don't have to ask my client, oh, what did you mean by, if I was talking to Simone, what did you mean about this kind of spatula or this kind of asparagus or whatever, whatever the case
Right.
may be. It's the same approach with this project. I'm calling in favors all over the place, and one of those favors is my brother, DJ Sean Doe. He's going to help us get some facts about hip hop. Hello,
What's up, Carlos?
how you doing?
It's good to be with you, brother.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking time. It's early AF, as you can see up on the clock. I, this occurred to me just the other day. This clock is a snitch.
Yeah,
Me
that's
telling my
awesome.
business all kinds of like people are like, "Hey, why is it 8 o'clock and you're still recording?" Like, snitch.
Get out my business. Damn clock. Word up.
So anyway, the reason why I asked Sean to come in and talk to us about hip hop and the hip hop culture is because he's knee deep in it. He lives in Chicago. He's a DJ, very well known DJ, hella busy all the time, up until the vid hit. And
Jesus. It's rough out here for a DJ.
there's other parts of the hip hop culture that you've been a part of,
Sure.
right? And before we get to that, let's go ahead and hit that intro. And welcome back. So yeah, let's get right into it because I have no idea how long this is going to be. But to help you guys out, what I'm going to do is put the little chapter links into the description, so then you can jump back and forth into this video and get whatever you want to out of it. Right? So let's talk about obviously hip hop, but what are the different segments of hip hop?
Sure. Sure. We have emceeing, we have b-boying.
And for those folks that don't speak hip hop, b-boy is breakdancing, or
Yes.
b-boy or b-girl is breakdancing,
Right, right,
right?
right.
So popping and locking, spinning on your head, on your back, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's DJing.
Okay.
So we said MC, we said b-boy, we said DJing,
DJ. Uh-huh.
and we have graffiti. And the fifth one is knowledge.
Okay.
So the knowledge that comes along with the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are like the five elements.
I was in a conversation with someone, I don't even remember, but fashion,
Totally.
is fashion considered a segment of it, or is it just kind of like an umbrella thing that just kind of like,
Well, I would think it's a part of it. There's I don't know if it's like a huge part like the knowledge is, but
mm,
it's all encompassed. Like as a DJ, you have a certain look.
mhm.
As a b-boy or a b-girl, you have a certain look, or as an MC, you have a certain look. And it's all, it fashion is a big part of that.
Mhm.
So I would say that it's just in the culture. Like it's not like it's like it could be its own thing, but it's just in the culture,
Mm.
you know.
Right.
So
That's
fashion would be something to talk about.
I might be stretching this one, but is hip hop the only true American born music genre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally was definitely something created here. It's not it wasn't created anywhere else. It's created out of black and brown people wanting to get, you know, the message out.
Yeah.
You know.
And to be thorough,
And
there was a couple white folks in there too. We're not trying to.
yeah,
but
no,
but
definitely. But the beginning of it was
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But hip hop is such a all inclusive way of living
yeah,
that it wasn't. It was never just about. We never felt like it was just about us.
yeah.
You know, and you know it's crazy because you know obviously we have this Midway Doc thing that we're doing also.
Yeah.
And one of our friends, Doug Infinite, he said, you know, it didn't matter what color you are. It just matters
Right.
if you're fresh. You know
Right.
what I mean? And
Right.
that's what hip hop is. It just matters if you're fresh.
Right.
Can you, you know, can you do this or can you b-boy? Can you MC? He explained it perfect.
Yeah.
And that's just the way the genre of hip hop is.
For those of you watching this video, anything that we can link to in the description of this video, we're going to. So this clip of Doug Infinite, we have on the Midway documentary YouTube page. So we'll link to all that. I've always known hip hop as kind of the one thing that exactly what you said, like it didn't really matter what you actually looked like. Did you have the skills for said task? Right. So
Right.
if anything, hip hop is incredibly, you know, if you're following the American dream, hip hop is exactly that. It's colorblind. If you're dope, you're good. If you're whack, it doesn't matter what color you are.
If you're whack, you're whack.
If you're whack, you're whack.
That was, you know, in the what we call the golden era of hip hop, that was really the good thing about like hearing it. Like you knew what was fresh or not.
Yeah.
You know, that's why when Vanilla Ice came out, this was like, that's kind of whack. Even though the sample was bananas for Ice Ice Baby, the sample was bananas, and I think that's what pushed it over because, you know, it was looking for, you know, its popularity, you know, but yeah, Ice was whack. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, like it's got its place. Because there's sometimes you play that record at the right time and the building's about to bust.
So this is what was really good about hip hop. The culture went, you know, the culture of making, you know, production for hip hop music.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's probably an element also. I mean, the DJ was the producer at one point in time, but the producer should have its own element because sampling was a huge part of hip hop, taking something that was a little older and creating a new sound with it, you know, finding a break and, you know, and looping the break so you can keep the party going or you can keep, you know, keep the MC rapping. Yes, Ice Ice Baby, Vanilla Ice wasn't Brand Nubians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't Public Enemy.
Right.
But the sample, which was already fresh in itself, I can't think of the sample, and I should know it as a DJ, but you know, I'm a little older now, so I'm forgetting everything. But
it was from Queen.
Yes.
Another one bites the dust.
Yes, thank you.
And if you don't know, what they did was that part that goes doom 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 da da doom 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 da da doom doom. So they took that and they put it on a loop, and then they had this crazy white boy with some goofy ass dance moves was like getting it in.
Yeah, he was getting it in. He was getting it in. But the fact that Queen song, Another One Bites the Dust, was amazing in taking that sample. The sample pulled the song, and if you heard it in, like you said, at the right place, the right time, yeah, some things was going up, you know. But you know, that's the thing about hip hop too. like because it's all inclusive and it was looking for a place. You know, we can be like, oh, like Vanilla Ice is whack, but the sample was dope. We want to keep the party going, so all right, cool. Like the
Might
part,
as well
like
play it.
you don't have to listen to his lyrics. All right, stop, collaborate, and let's like all right, right.
Everyone knows, for as much as you like or don't like Vanilla Ice, everyone knows those lyrics. I'm sorry.
I blame that on music videos. I
Yeah,
blame it on music videos
yeah,
because it was so we were so bombarded with, you know, uh, uh the videos
yeah,
that there was no way if it was just if it was the 90s and we were just listening to what we like to listen to,
yeah.
Vanilla Ice wouldn't have got the play because
Right.
nobody would have bought it. But the inclusion of music videos and it being just given to us so much, it just became kind of like
Yeah.
embedded. And that's almost kind of like how, you know, they took the culture to today. Like, you know, what they call hip hop today is this beat, this loop that becomes infectious, and it's just played so much that you're like, okay, it has its place.
There's something that continues to come up in the words that you're using, and that's party. So to clarify where hip hop came from, like one of the unique things about hip hop is we know exactly the address where it was created.
Right.
And for those folks that want to know, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, South Bronx, New York, USA. That's exactly where hip hop started. And we kind of maybe know where rock started. We kind of maybe know where punk started. We definitely know where punk got popular in New York. And what's interesting is punk and hip hop were coming up at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just a different groups. But what was cool about back in the day was if you were punk, you understood what was happening with hip hop. And when you were hip hop, you understand what was happening with punk. Everyone was trying to do something different. So you respected the movement.
Yeah. I think, you know, when I chose like hip hop to be my main thing, you know, like I tell people when I chose hip hop to be my religion, like, like punk is definitely in that.
Yeah.
And I don't like listening to, I was listening to hip hop and punk, and hip hop was just, it's, it spoke louder to me. Or it spoke more to me because of who was creating it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But punk was just as loud. Like, you know, but listening to PE was like listening to me, you know, and the things that was coming out of Chuck's mouth or Griff's mouth or you know, watching the S1W's march, which I don't know if you know this about me, but I was raised Muslim in a nation. So seeing that, which is something that I did, you know, at the time, like I was a young man, but I was out, you know, drilling with the brothers, or, you know, you might see me on the corner selling the final call, or trying to, you know, get you to get this delicious bean pie, brother. Like, you know what I mean? So
And for the record, them bean pies were good. I don't care what you say.
look, right now, my dad, he so my grandfather lives down the street, and my grandfather's always like, if your dad gets a bean pie, make sure he gets me one.
Yeah.
So every week there are 2 or 3 bean pies like around the house, and I'm making sure I max at least half of one.
Yeah.
You know. But they're good. They're good. But I've digressed.
And for those of you that haven't had it, like if you're Dominican, like you know, and probably I know that the Dominicans have this. It's called habichuela dulce, or candied beans,
Mm-hmm.
and they make it with beans and like sweet potato and cinnamon sticks and all this stuff. It's so good. Some people
Yeah.
put pineapple in there,
Yeah.
but it's still lovely with no pineapple. But that's what
That's real
bean pies taste like.
nice.
So if you're Dominican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, if you had habichuela dulce, you know what I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
put that in a pie crust and it's a wrap.
That's awesome. I need to holler at my Cuban friends.
Do it.
Yeah.
So basically, hip hop started because there was an ongoing party at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. And from what I understand, all the research that I've done, they
Hmm.
talk about how it was hella hot in New York and people were getting restless and they had like electricity was getting cut off and on and tempers were flaring and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff was happening. And then they just started here at 1520 Sedgwick, they just started spinning records.
DJ. The DJ.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's amazing what comes out uh of what you would think is nothing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We have a habit as poor people do this. Poor people do this, um, and I can speak for the or I would like to think that I could speak for the black and brown people that created hip hop. Like it just came out of necessity for creating
Hmm.
something that was ours. You know,
There's a
everything had been.
saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, I think so much of our culture has been taken away from us and has been stolen from us. And the way we communicate as black people has always been special, you know. And that was something that we had to do as as slaves in America. Like we had to learn how to talk to each other, you know, coming from Africa, we lost all that.
Hmm.
And we had to figure out another way of communication. So our communication has always been a little hype, a little different.
Hmm.
And and from that, I think that starts the rhyming. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And the rhyming turns into MC, you know?
Hmm.
And because we have this kind of like it's special, almost poetic way of talking,
Hmm.
it becomes, you know, that with the party or the dance becomes hip hop.
And that's a question that I get a lot. So everyone knows that we're working on midwaydocumentary.com,
That's right.
midwaydoc.com, midwaydoc everywhere else.
Everywhere.
But no, so everyone knows that I'm slash we are part of the team that's working on this
Yeah.
documentary. And so they ask me things like, how did poetry get into the emceeing part of rap, of hip hop, of
Hmm.
that whole thing? Do we know that yet?
I think we do. I think we knew as the culture was growing that the rhyming of words was always poetic.
Hmm.
Like it's never been separate.
Hmm.
It's just people who want to put hip hop or the emceeing part in a box, like it's separate from poetry.
Hmm.
If you listen to one of the most dangerous albums ever created, which is Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted. Um,
And America's spelled with three K's.
yes. Yeah. So
America KKK.
that album, if you listen to what like people, I guess have this some people have this misconception that poetry is always beautiful. or always nice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. You know, my
Mm-hmm.
little props to my little brother, Sharif. He is a poet,
Mm-hmm.
and he's known in the Chicago poetry world
Mm-hmm.
as Ill Subliminals. But he's also an MC.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that he can be the best MC that he can be is because he's a poet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you, like I said, if you listen to that America's Most Wanted album, if you take the beats out and listen to what he's saying, even though it's some dark stuff, like, it's poetry.
Yeah.
And it's always been poetry to us.
And
So
poetry,
I don't think it was ever separate to the people that was in the hip hop world. I think
yeah.
it's hard for people that are not in the hip hop world to put it together.
Poetry is never really meant to only be happy or in a kid's book, let's say.
Sure.
It's not always about, because I can tell I can if you think that poetry is always happy, I can ruin your stance in 3 words. Edgar Allan Poe.
Yep.
That
Yep.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah. My friends right now, Risky Business is doing dioramas. And I think
Shout out Diorama King. Bangs God.
and I think about Edgar Allan Poe when I think of him doing dioramas. But
You know that's staying in, right?
yeah, I know. Do you remember
I love giving him a hard time.
do you remember the Simpsons episode where it was kind of like the Edgar Allan Poe,
Yeah.
and Lisa did the diorama, and then the heart was beating up on it. Yeah. So
That's Risky in his basement.
uh-huh. Like I said, the poetry was never separate from emceeing.
Yeah.
Even when I watch friends freestyle,
Mhm.
like, for them to be able to come up with the words that they come up with and have it rhyme, like
Mhm.
like I think about MC Juice
Mhm.
and just how talented he is to make, you know, make a story rhyme and it come out seamless, and you see, like, if he's, you know, if it's a freestyle battle and he's degrading the person, you know, next to him, you can see it. Like, think about, have you ever seen the Juice Eminem battle?
I did. And to let people know, MC Juice is originally from Chicago. He's down in LA right now making moves. Shout out Juice. But Eminem lost one battle, and that was when he went up against MC Juice.
Yeah.
That's how important Juice is to the hip hop community. Like,
Yeah.
you have one of the, and people are gonna talk smack. I know Snoop Dogg is out here saying that Eminem's not even in his top 10 list, whatever. Fine. But you can't hate the fact that M is like baptized in the religion of hip hop, and he's killing it, and like it or not, he's one of the best. I don't care. He sells a lot of records.
So okay, so we can't, so here's the thing. No matter how many records he sells, he is definitely an amazing talent.
Yeah.
For me, like, I haven't been a fan of I'm a fan of the way he puts words together, because he's very wordy, and and it's amazing what he does with words. But I haven't wanted to listen to Eminem since after the first album. And the first album was really him just being him. Like, it was, you know what, like, I as a young black male thought white rappers should rap like. You know, oh, it's
Right.
super dark. He wants to throw his his
Mom off a
ex-girlfriend in the
bridge.
trunk. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I could get into this. Like this is what I
It
feel
was
like.
different. It was clever.
Yes. And there's a lot of talented white rappers that kind of was in that vein. Like the rapper Cage, and I was listening to Copyright the other day. It seems like culturally this is what they would be talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I dug it. I don't know if Eminem has made any more records like that since that time. So whenever I listen to Eminem, I just marvel over the fact that he can put these words together. But I also know that I'm not listening to him now because what he's talking about now isn't about like what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'll definitely listen to Black Thought, who I think is a
Oh.
million times better than Eminem.
Black Thought is
Yeah. And or even like let's give props to the young cats, Kendrick. Like Kendrick is amazing.
J. Cole. You always hear J. Cole's name in conversations too.
Yeah, J. Cole's all right. I'm not messing with him because he dissed No Name, and that's Chicago over everything. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
put a sticky note there so we can talk about the diss and the diss tracks and how is that important to rapping and stuff, right? Let's make sure we talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Chicago over everything. So
of course.
You know, even though I'm not throwing out my J. Cole albums, and I probably would, you know, I'm definitely listening to him. Right now he disrespected one of our queens from Chicago, and I'm just gonna stand behind her regardless. Like you can't do that.
Right.
And she got a hold to Madlib, which is one of the dopest hip hop producers alive. And yeah, that's.
Is she coming back? Is she coming back at him?
Well, so I think she made her stance known.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like a direct attack, because I don't think it like I just think she wanted to like. I don't think that she was attacking him in the beginning. I think he took it way too personal, and so he had to say something about it. What I will thank J. Cole for is J. Cole has a bigger platform. So if I wanted to think about the good part in it, he said her name. Now people who didn't even know her knows who she is. And it gives her a bigger platform. Like they was talking about her on a Joe Budden podcast, which is probably one of the biggest podcasts that's out now. And they don't know who No Name is. They, you know, Joe didn't know who, No Name was, but the fact that she's getting this publicity, my dad said, or I'm pretty sure this is a saying, that there's no like bad publicity. Like if you get people talking about you, then that's a good thing.
Right.
So,
unless you're doing bad things, and then and then you get called out. But I mean,
yeah. But yeah, Chicago over everything.
I mean, duh.
Right.
Let's go to where hip hop got its name. And I know it's kind of like, if anything, that might be like here, I'm going to drop some big words. That's nebulous. The story I heard was back in the day, Sugar Hill Gang came out. And for those of you that don't know, Sugar Hill Gang is one of the first rap groups to gain any kind of momentum in public. And they came out with Rapper's Delight. And even if you don't like hip hop, you've heard this song, unless you're maybe like 4.
I mean, even 4-year-olds have watched a Disney movie or a Pixar movie, and it's been in it. So
yeah, Yeah. And for those of you guys that don't know what the hell we're talking about, it's the song that goes hip hop hibbit hibbit to the hip hip hop and you don't stop the rockers head bang bang boogies they hoop jump all that one.
The boogie to be. Hey, so
What you hear is not a test.
so what did you? So you heard that?
I heard that when that song came out, it caught fire so bad that people were going to the record shops. Yes, record shops. Because hip hop started in late 60s, early 70s. When that song came out, it caught fire so hot that people were going to the record shops and saying, "Hey, do you have that record that goes hip hop hippie to the hippie hip hop?" And then people then because the more we talk, the lazier we get, or the more efficient the words get.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
instead of saying hip hop hippie to the hip hop, people started saying, "Do you have that hip hop album?" And that's how I understand it came out. And I like that story, so that's the one that I tell.
That's right. It sounds about right. I'm not for sure. That story is way better than the story that I've had in my head, which was people was just like, oh, I don't know about that hippity hop music. You know what I mean? So
it might have been the same thing. Like the people who liked it, they're like, "Yo, let me get that hip hop record," and then people who didn't really get it, they're like, "What's this hippity hip hop stuff?"
Right,
like,
right. It's really crazy about the word that we stuck to because we as children of the culture hip hop, like if we just put that word aside, like that word is not fresh at all. Like it's hip hop. Like
yeah, it's what bunnies do.
But we maintained it.
Yeah.
And it's one of, or probably the biggest music genre that we have in the world. You know, they know about hip hop all over the place. I think I was in I know I was in I was in Thailand, and at least 3 people asked me, was I a hip hop artist when I was there? Like what are you here filming a video? Like I'm like is it because I don't know.
It might be.
Yeah.
might be.
It's
Might
okay.
be. Might be a little racist. Hashtag triggered.
I love hip hop. You can't take that away from me.
That's when I'd be like, yes, I'm here to make a record.
Yeah.
Can I get some food?
Money. Yeah. Yeah, it'll work. But yeah, so we, it's amazing how that word stuck, but I'm here's something that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in I'm around for the inception of hip hop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hip hop was one thing, and it grew to what we had in the golden era. Like we had a solid understanding of what we understood the music part was. Like, it was, fresh lyrics. It was about learning new words so you can use new words in your vocabulary to have words to rhyme with, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was also like super jazzy, so what we were doing was we went back for the production of it.
Mm-hmm.
We went back to sample like obscure jazz loops, or like the horns was big in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd find this super jazzy, super horny, Yeah, no, horny. That's what it is. Um, 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 Loops, and we would study. Like, if we wanted to know what sample that was,
Mm-hmm.
so we would go back and find out. Oh, okay, cool. That was John Coltrane, or that was James Brown, or that was, Bob James.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are the things, and it also gave a boost of older music,
Mm-hmm.
um, because we were definitely interested in all of the aspect of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Big Money came in, Big Money said, you can't really talk about these things anymore because people don't, the people that's buying it don't,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to hear that. We don't want them to hear that. We
Mm-hmm.
want them to hear about this and this.
Right.
So in the 2000s, we have, more music made about lower life, like the life of the inner city, which made the listener that was paying for music be intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the suburban white kid didn't know anything about selling dope, or because they're not in the hood. So
Mm-hmm.
it becomes this taboo thing that they're like, okay, cool, we can buy this. And then this becomes the phenomenon that kind of like we have this overabundance of this type of music today. And I'm interested in thinking about, do we even call this music hip hop music
Mm-hmm.
or even rap music? Because, back in the 90s, we would differentiate it. Like, we'd be like, oh, hip hop was Brand Nubians and rap was NWA,
Yeah.
And NWA was definitely hip hop. Like, everything about NWA was hip hop.
Yeah.
But we had to like, or rap was E40 or something like that. And E40 is bananas. Like he takes a language, we create a new language, he creates another language
Right.
off of that, and it becomes a phenomenon where he is. So I'm just interested, do we even call it hip hop anymore if it's so far away from
Its origin.
what we created?
Yeah. And when hip hop was created, you see if you do a little research, you see the progression of hip hop. So when hip hop first started, it was about partying,
Yeah.
and a lot of the MCs that were rapping over tracks were talking about, let's go to this party, let's go chase these girls, let's go do this, and like everything. It seemed to be like everything was about daily life, but it was about life sucks, we might as well party together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. If you think about the message was not like, look, hey, people, this is what's going on in the hood.
Yeah.
It's not making us bad people though. Like we still want to laugh and smile,
Right.
and you know what? And
And a
now that I'm
good
thinking
party
about
makes you
it,
forget how poor you are.
yes, yes, because I don't think in the 90s, I like, I know where I'm from. Like,
Yeah.
I know exactly where I'm from. I'm a kid from the West Side that grew up on the South Side, and I grew up in Roseland. Um, um, and I was born in Austin, the Austin community.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to parties and I would see kids who had, but at this moment of time, it didn't matter whether you had more than me. Like we were all enjoying the same music at the same time,
Right.
and it was the party vibe. Big ups to the Darians, Dim Dare, Twilight Tone,
Mm-hmm.
um Reg Knock, Reggie No, Dish Darian, like all the Darians that that those are the parties that their parties were parties that I went to, um, that kind of opened my brain up to what a party should be like. You know, I don't know if I didn't go to those parties, I don't know if I would be DJing. Like, I've always had it in my brain, but I know an aspect of that solidified the fact that I wanted to be a soul controller, which was definitely, you know, DJing. Like I had this conversation with Twilight Tone some years back, and I was talking to him, and I was like, "Hey, do you know that?"
And real quick, Twilight Tone, he's a music producer.
Yeah.
One of his latest projects was with the Gorillas, if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah.
So it's like Twilight Tone is the real deal.
Yeah. I was talking to him, and I told him, I said, "Hey, you know that that as like I carried your records in to the club a couple of times, like right when I got, like, right as a freshman or sophomore in college, I would come home, and I definitely wanted to party like I did, you know, but I couldn't go to the parties because I was all the way in Alabama. And so when I would come home, I would try to find, you know, the Twilight Tone parties. And I legit, like, I was a friend with this guy. His name is Craig Elliott. Craig Elliott went to Alabama A&M with me, and he was very close with Twilight Tone and, you know, a couple other people. And Craig's like, "Hey, you want to go to this party? All you gotta do is carry these records with me." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'll do that." And I felt like that was like the rites of passage. You know, me, like, Twilight Tone, like, it was just, okay, I don't want to carry my records. I got these two guys carrying my records. I don't know who that guy is. Yeah, you can get in the party, you carry my records. Like, records are very fucking heavy. Like,
right. That's whenever people talk about showing up with vinyl to a party as a DJ, I always go back to the one and only Bangs God himself, DJ Risky Business.
Yep.
When he said he showed up to a party and he had his laptop and all his music was in the laptop, and someone says, "Where are your records? You're not keeping it real." And he said, Risky said, "You know what records are? Real heavy."
That's right. That's right. That's right. Real fucking heavy. So if you're gonna pay me, and now that's so now that records or like 45s, actually 45s are a thing, and 45s are not nearly as heavy as you know, the 12 inches now. But you literally have to pay me to bring out records.
Yeah.
Like, you have to pay me to bring out records.
Yeah.
If not, I'm just bringing my laptop.
Similarly, I went to go see Doug Infinite DJ at this. He has a set back before the world broke, at this place called Little Skillet. So I went there, and he started playing some records, and I was like, "Man, you know, right now in my head, I got Special Ed, I Got It Made." And Doug goes, "Oh, hold up." He ran out to his car, pulled out a 45 of Special Ed, I Got It Made. I was like, "Man, you are dangerous."
Yeah. So the one big thing about what we're doing with Midway is that, so I've been a fan of the culture ever since the culture accepted me in it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And growing up in the culture, there are certain people that you put notches by their name, right? And Doug Infinite is definitely one of those guys. I remember going to buy the Resurrection album, and when I when I purchased the Resurrection album, you had to look at it and find it because the production was amazing. And you see on the production, it's like No ID and Doug Infinite. And you like, this Doug Infinite guy is amazing. Then the third Common album comes out and Doug has like beats on it. And then you find this album by a guy named Gravity, and then Doug has beats on that. I'm like, man, this dude is amazing. And then we do this midway thing, and Doug is a part of it, and it's like he's been your friend for the the 20
Literally
years
forever.
That you've known him, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing. Like that's definitely one of the good things about being a part of this crew, that and also being true to the religion or the culture of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just something, like we're all brothers, and it's not like it's amazing that we've known each other for so long, but just coming together like now.
Yeah. And again, shout out to Doug, because like ever since we first met, it's been like we've been friends forever.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because I went to his birthday party last year, and his wife walked up to me, points at my face, and says, "You guys need to work together more."
That's right. That's right.
And so, like for this project, specifically for this project, I reached out to Doug and I was like, "Hey, man, so I have this idea." And I was looking at music on my music website, where I get all the music for all my videos. And then I'm sitting here thinking, why am I doing this? Let me ask Doug. And then Doug was like, yeah, why were you doing that? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like he was excited to help. And so, like it's just stuff like that that just separates him from a lot of others, like yeah, he's a good guy, and true to his word, incredibly talented, and
Yeah.
has accomplished so much. And when you're talking to him, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
know,
And I think that goes to being true to what hip hop is.
Right.
He exudes what hip hop is about
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah.
Just a good dude. He's always fresh, never whack. Like never whack,
Right.
And
And
that's
is
just
passionate about this thing, like this hip hop thing.
yeah.
Right? Because at his birthday, so he DJ'd a little bit, but then he had a collection of DJs that came together and then did his set. Right? And so one of the DJs started playing nothing but Doug Infinite tracks. You should have seen my brother jumping up and down and karaokeing his own stuff.
Nice. Nice.
with and bouncing, and he was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Should be. More people should like, it's big ups to Doug Infinite for what he's built and what he's done for Chicago hip hop. Big ups to his brother No ID for what he's done. For those if I had those are the two.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so if you don't know, Doug Infinite is a music producer, and damn good guy, DJ, rapper, b-boy.
Yeah.
There was a video in the episode 1 of this series. I showed a video of Kanye West and how much of an influence No ID and Doug Infinite had on Kanye West. Baby Kanye West would go like thirsty for knowledge, going over to No ID and Doug Infinite. And then Doug Infinite had like a skate shop and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the cool things, like I'm gonna brag about myself real quick, but one of the cool things, like the more Doug and I talk, like we've done like barely missing each other throughout life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Barely missing each other. Like,
Yeah. That's a Chicago thing too.
yeah. And so, like, where his store was, I had a friend. I used to be, like, if you remember, if you live in Forest Park, there's a Forest Park Mall. There used to be, like, the building outside front was like a old country buffet. But then in the mall itself, there was a Payless shoe source. I was the assistant manager of that Payless shoe source.
Nice.
The store right next door was this dude, and I think the store was called Fit to be Tied. And I believe that the owner of that store, and Fit to be Tied was a clothing store, and I can't remember his name, but my man was always dressed to the nines.
Nice.
And he had a second store, and I believe that second store was in the same mall as Doug's skate shop.
Sure.
And I would help the owner of that clothing store from time to time when he needed it. I would go and I would help him move merchandise into the store,
To the other store.
that I believe was the same mall that Doug Infinite had his skate shop at.
The skate shop was in Evergreen Plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, man. I've been to that skate shop a couple of times. And you know, I didn't know that was Doug's skate shop. Like, you know, I was, you know, Chicago's so big that you can be hip hop and it's you're in one space and it can be your space that you're in. Like I also did graffiti. So, and I did graffiti on the south side, you know, and some west side, but I did graffiti on the south side. So I just honestly really started learning about the north side crews. You know, I knew it was north side crews, but you know, we didn't have to battle with them because what we were doing, we were battling with, you know, battling south side crews. So we didn't have to worry about north side crews.
Yeah.
North side crews didn't have to worry about us because we wasn't going over into their territory, you know, flipping them or riding over their shit. Like, you know, respect your area, you know, respect ours.
Let's dissect that a little bit, because
Sure.
I think graffiti is one of the most misrepresented and misunderstood parts of this culture.
Well, the reason why it's misunderstood and misrepresented, because it's also the most dangerous part of the culture. It's the most illegal part of the culture. If you're doing graffiti, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you know, you think about it in the 90s, you know, graffiti being in Chicago, like, was associated with gang, like gang stuff. So like you got these hip hop kids who just you know, being a part of the culture and being artists and wanting to see your name up, you know, because that's what hip hop was about, getting up. Like the MC, you want to be recognized, so you know, you're gonna MC, you're gonna get up by MCing. Like the b-boy wants to do the freshest move, so you know, you want to be seen. You know what I'm saying? So graffiti, it's just that. I was a young artist. I was in this hip hop culture, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna start writing my name on everything. I want to be seen, because that's what hip hop is. And I'm on the south side. I can do this, right? And looking at it, like, first off, if you're doing, like, there's a part of graffiti that's beautiful. Like, the cities almost benefit from the graffiti being placed in certain areas. Look at New York. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of graffiti that, wasn't, like, some of it could have been, like, you don't want to write on somebody's house, right?
Right.
But a train going by, who gives a fuck? Like,
it's public.
right now, the trains have adopted what we did as graffiti artists. All those ads that you see on when you're downtown, in underground, for the L, like, that's graffiti. When they paint the cars with ads, that was just us. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
with a lower budget.
So it's definitely the most misunderstood part, because it's definitely the most illegal part. And I had fun and have fun doing graffiti today. Like, I'm not getting up and doing illegal things.
We do it on the iPad. We do it on the iPad.
It's crazy. My guy hit me up about a week ago. He has a wall for me, and he was like, man, come do anything you want to do on this wall. And I'm thinking about making it a midway wall, so we can have our first midway graffiti mural. And I'm gonna ask my people from my old crew, CBS, to help me out with it. So that's something that I'm looking forward to.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I was telling Ryan, one of the ideas would be something very much like that, but you guys have to, get a battery pack and plug in your phone, and while you're painting, doing the mural, you do a time lapse.
I'll make sure that happens.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Because I think something like that would serve so many really good purposes, right? We can take something like that, put it in the documentary.
Yep.
It could be the intro or the outro. Or it could just be in there when we start talking about graffiti and stuff. It could just throw that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would be cool. I think because of where graffiti is placed, I think that's why people don't get it. I go back to this article that I wrote that ended up being in, I went to Triton College for my first degree. And I wrote an article about graffiti and how it's misunderstood, and how, back in the day, canvases were, I'm assuming, somewhat affordable, and paints were somewhat affordable, and artists had respect from the public. And so you take that whole mentality, you have artists that are trying to express themselves, but then you take that and you put it in the inner city. And then you give all those people a lack of funds. So you have the same creative yearning, but you don't, I mean,
give it an outlet.
Do you buy a canvas or do you buy a sandwich? And it's literally, a lot of times it's literally that.
Yeah.
That's a decision that folks have to make. So what if I get a sandwich and a can or a few cans, and then you just kind of express yourself?
So what people need to understand also is that it is literally what you just said. Do I buy, food for me to eat, or do I get these cans? And getting the cans didn't mean you bought the cans.
I
Like
mean,
there's a
yeah.
there's a term called racking that we embraced.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So let's see how many cans you can rack. You know what I'm saying? Like and we put all our cans together and we go out and do our thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, there's there's a lot of artwork that's out there that was funded by Krylon or whatever the lead spray cam was at the time that we was trying to get.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is a really good time to give B-Boy B a shout out because I saw on his Instagram just yesterday, I believe he was working on a mural too.
Yeah.
So he's still out
So
there getting it done.
B-Boy B is, so first off, I'm so glad that he's a part of our team. Um I knew about B-Boy B as a graffiti artist.
Mm-hmm.
I also knew about him through the publication of the flypaper, which was something very important
Uh-huh.
for us to have as people, as hip hop, connoisseurs, or people in the religion.
Yeah.
And but him being on a team, like I get to meet like how why like he's a wise dude. You know what I mean? He's been around for a minute,
Yeah.
and he has to connect. Like he's a part of, like I would say, the originators. Like
Yeah.
he's a part of the OGs.
Yeah.
He is, like, he might not say like he's OG, and if he has the connection to the older OGs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also have to give credit to artistic.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to do that is because while B-Boy B was on the north side,
Mm-hmm.
I'm split between the north side, I'm split between the south side and the west side,
Mm-hmm.
because as we know, Chicago is super segregated.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, there was only so many places that I was going. And the way Chicago is set up, most black and brown people live on the west side and the south side. So the graffiti that I grew up admiring and learning how to cultivate my style as a graffiti artist was seeing artistic and his crew Basif up around the south side.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the freshest crew, like anytime I saw artistic or spin or just anybody from Basif, it was just amazing. The colors and the letters and the way they express themselves. There's a wall called the B's and the Twos on over by, I think it was not Columbia College, but further, it's like super far, like far east. But I would go to that wall and just marvel at what they did, and it was really where I learned my style from.
Mm-hmm.
And so even meeting artistic as an older gentleman, I had to give him his props, because I started out doing graffiti from a guy named Spin, and he was invasive. And Spin, he had let's go back to being close to somebody but not meeting them.
Mm-hmm.
Spin had a airbrush shop in Evergreen Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just go and sit in his airbrush shop and watch him airbrush, because I just wanted style. Like it's almost kind of like, the old Shaw Brothers movies where you like, man, I just want to learn from the master. And he's like, well, just sit outside. Like I'm not letting you in, kid. And you just sit outside until they give you the lessons.
Yeah.
So respect for Spin like he was the first person I met from Basic, and I wasn't letting him go.
Yeah.
Like, so so I did that, and while watching him, I was like, I was sitting there one day, and I was like, I think I want to come up with my own graffiti crew. And he was like, do it. He was like, what's stopping you? And that's how that started.
Yeah.
So
And
it was
I think that's one of the more genius things about hip hop, and it's a very important ingredient to the soup that is hip hop, right?
yeah.
It's hip hop came from people that didn't have money and they figured it out. Like
Yep.
there's stories about DJs plugging their turntables into the light pole to power their turntables to get the party started, right?
Found a long enough extension cord, we got it.
You see what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you do that stuff in like certain neighborhoods, you'll be escorted out.
Or somebody keep unplugging your extension cord, like
Yeah, yeah. And could you imagine, like, your mom comes home and she had a long day at work and she goes to turn on the lamp and she can't because the extension cord is out? And your goofy ass is outside, like, dancing and playing records with her extension cord.
yo. I really like big ups to those cats in New York that figured it out. Um,
Yeah.
Big ups to the way New York was made, that that you can get, power from the lamps, like the street lights, like,
Yeah.
because here I think it would have been different, like in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there was any way for us to do like it's amazing that it started out like that, but here in Chicago it was definitely different.
Yeah.
And which makes us unique, because we didn't have that, but we definitely created our own laws for what hip hop was for us. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but we definitely respect and love the creation of it.
Sure.
And
There's mad
marvel
respect. There's mad respect for New York and Chicago.
marvel at the fact that, oh, you can just have like man, if I was a DJ back then, all I had to do was plug up to make sure we get the electricity from the street lamp, like let the city pay for this party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that would have been awesome
Yeah.
for us.
And so with that being said, like the laws and the rules and stuff like that, and sometimes the violation of rules, there's a certain culture in Chicago that we hear a lot about in the news, which all of this is me feeding into a question. So what I did was I posted a question on my Instagram stories, and I asked people, what are some things that you don't fully understand about hip hop that you might want questions to, right? Social media is a cesspool for nothing but toxic behavior. But the other side of the coin is it's really good because we can communicate with each other and
Sure.
actually listen and learn from each other. I asked this question. I said, what are some things that you understand about hip hop that you need clarity for? Or what is it about hip hop that you want to know? And so there is this violence that is constantly being reported on coming out of Chicago. And so one of the questions that someone asked was, are the stories about gang banging, drugs, and hoes real?
Wow, that's it's it's a weird question.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying it's a weird question is because of, let's think about the climate of the world today, and the fact that there are a lot of people who are realizing that they are they thought that they knew everything, but they're realizing that they don't know shit.
Right.
And they're also realizing that the way they are plays into something that this world or America has been, which is in total has just been a racist place. You know what I mean? Um, so what I would say to that person that asks if the drugs and the holes, and is that real, or is that a thing? Like, what I will say is that being like of course, there's there's real things out there. There are things that you don't have to deal with that poor people deal with.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like drugs in your neighborhood.
Right.
You might not have to deal with that, bro. But where do you think the drugs are gonna exist? You know what I mean? I don't think that like it's almost a question that I don't really understand it. Like, are the hoes real? What are you talking about? Like
Well, let's go down the trajectory of hip hop and how it's changed its costume, for the lack
Okay.
of a better word, right?
Okay.
So hip hop started in New York and it was party music.
Yeah. But it also talked about the ills of what was going on between or in the black and brown neighborhoods.
Right.
But definitely in party form.
Right.
Because it was straight off of, like disco samples or soul samples.
Right. And it's always the one consistency about rap music has been they rap about, or you rap about what's important to you and what's affecting your life.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And then as it was picking up steam, eventually it made its way to the West Coast. And that's where NWA picked up the baton. And they changed it. They took the genre, the party music, and they changed it to really give you a raw look at what was happening in the streets.
Okay.
People getting messed with and police. Literally everything that we're seeing in the news today,
Same
NWA started reporting on it.
Yep.
That being said, if you leave people to figure it out, they're going to figure it out. You just might not like the result.
Right.
Right. So we have a bunch of people that a bunch of artists, a bunch of hip hop artists that we know that, how do I say this without being disrespectful? I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. Like, your life is your life, live it. But it's almost like when you go to the strip club and she says, I'm working my way through college.
Okay.
And you give her like a couple bucks and you say, good luck, like, do your homework. Like, you know what I mean? She's empowered herself to find a way to her path, right?
So remember what I was talking about earlier about, like, in the 2000s, then big corporations came in and they were like, hey, you can't talk about this. Like, you need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because the music was being sold to a bunch of young white kids. Like, they were buying this music.
Yeah.
So to sell, to make money, this is what we'd rather you talk about. Yeah. We'd rather you talk about glorifying these companies that's going to, profit off of you talking about it. Like, Nelly did the Air Force One song. Like, I don't know how many pairs of Air Force Ones, I've owned or I own. You know what I mean? And young black and brown people. Like, I don't know how many, like, just imagine how many Air Force Ones was purchased after that song.
Yeah.
The liquor corporations, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, remember when
Hennessy, Cavassier,
Cavassier, like, this is
Pass
what you talk
Cavassier,
about, right?
Pass
So
Cavassier.
this is what you talk about, and all these things mean nothing.
Yeah.
And we would rather you talk about stuff that mean nothing than my young white kid listening to what Chuck D's trying to say,
Right.
you know? So when it was converted into, oh, and if you talk about drugs and killing yourselves and calling your woman B's and H's, that doesn't matter because you're not talking about our women. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking about yours.
Mm.
And that's what we want you to talk about.
Mm.
And that's how you'll make your money.
Mm.
So is it a real thing? Like, it's only glorified because that's what the big corporations wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the reason why hip hop is the way it is right now, because this is what you want to hear. But we did have, Poor Righteous Teachers, Public Enemy, X-Clan, like all these things were empowering the black and brown communities, but also teaching. If hip hop was at a place where it was just trying to learn the English language to figure out how many words, not our words got taken from us as slaves. Like, we don't know, what I don't know what African village I was from. I don't know I don't know if I spoke Swahili or something else. You know what I mean? But I'm here in America, and this thing that I do well is rap. And so now I need to figure out all the words that I can use to rap, which is empowering me to learn how to communicate with you in any given subject. And guess what? I can even make those words that you think you know and words you don't know rhyme. So when they stop that in the 2000s, this is why this gets glorified, and people like that can be like, oh, we knew they were savage, or we knew they were this, or we knew they were that, and focus on, oh, are the stories real and true? Like, you know what? Guess what? In your hood, they're doing the same shit, because all hoods do the same shit. You know what I mean? So it's, that's kind of how I would answer that,
Yeah.
Like it's not about, if the stories are true. Yeah, no, that, people are rhyming and people are telling these stories, even though like a lot of the stories are fictional, you know what I mean? But yeah, in poverty comes a certain language, a certain culture, and but also these people are saying certain things to make money to not be in that no more. Like, look at Snoop. You think Snoop 187 Snoop is sexual seduction Snoop? Like you think Snoop is still cripping like he cripped when he was with Death Row?
Yeah.
As he, like, he's a different crip now. I mean, he's cripping, but he's a different.
Right. There's a completely different Snoop. The one that got put up on murder charges is completely different than the one that is making brownies with what's her face.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Martha Stewart wouldn't let this dude in her kitchen if he was still, like,
no,
attempted murdering people.
no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Why why is he walking through the front door? He should be, you know, like, you just come through my front door? Did you just?
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
going back to my point with the why I don't want to leave, you know, I guess strippers hanging there, but the point, what my point was, if you leave people to figure it out, they're going to figure it out.
Right.
And so if I'm an MC or producer, whatever, fill in the blank, and I want to work on my album, because maybe I'm nice. Maybe the poetry that I'm sharing with people is pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't have any money because we just got done talking about stealing electricity from a light pole, right? So, unfortunately, in the land that we live in of supply and demand, if there's a demand for a certain thing,
Yes.
the supply then has to happen. And so then I exploit that situation to make some money to then go to the studio. And going back to the original question, unfortunately, that's the way it is when you leave people alone with no help, no nothing. You turn your back on them. They're part of the club. You turn your back on them, and then you get mad when they figure it out.
You know
I mean,
who I would
Jay-Z is the number one that I know for a fact that he's done this. But once he finally made it, he's not slinging anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all. He's figured out their way of slanging.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he's doing it that way.
Exactly. And the thing that I really do appreciate about Jay-Z is, especially with the story of OJ,
Yeah.
he's teaching. Like, that's what elders are supposed to do right there.
That's what hip hop was in its golden era. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many people was waiting for this 444 album. You know what I mean? Like, when they heard it, they was like this was the Jay-Z we were looking for. You know what I mean? But it's a great album, but a lot of people won't understand it too because it's not their language. It's not for them. It's for you know, it's for the people who understand it. Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, I think because of what people are shown, they're not comfortable asking questions. They assume that they know. Right? So, you know what's funny is, and this might be slightly off topic, but it is what it is. I was in a group of white folks, and we got to talking like deep stuff, right? They feel bad that when a group of black folks are coming down the street, they feel bad that they think that they need to cross the street.
Sure.
And I started laughing, and they go like, why is that funny? And I go, that's how I feel when I see a group of white folks walking down the street.
Down the street, yeah.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel that trepidation.
Yeah.
Like if you give me a group of black folks, like that's my comfort zone.
But what's crazy is that we cross the street for different reasons than they do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think they cross the street because they're taught to be scared of black and brown.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been taught to be scared of black and brown because partially of what the world teaches them that black and brown people will do. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, if you think about it, movies back in the day made you feel like, well, first off, like black people was lazy, but they robbed the shit out of you and and they might eat your kids and you know what I'm saying? Just all these weird things that we might do. And these things were set up in place of the fact that they had committed so many horrendous acts towards black and brown people that we legit are looking for the ball to drop. Like, when the fuck are y'all gonna get us back for slavery? Like when, like like I remember. Oh my God, I remember when I remember when and this all has something to do with hip hop because it's black and brown culture. I remember when Roots came on TV, right?
Mm.
If you think about it, it's the early '80s, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and Roots comes on, and I tell people all the time, the '80s has this feel of, and that's why I love the '80s so much,
Mm-hmm.
because the '80s felt like race relations heavy. You think about the '80s, the shows was like Different Strokes and Good Times and all these things, All in the Family,
Jeffersons, All in the
all
Family. Yeah.
so all these things had like its importance was race relation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, like we know we're racist, but we need to figure out a way to live together because this movie, this series called Roots came out, and we didn't realize that we murdered the shit out of you motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
We raped the shit out of you, and y'all built what the fuck we call America, and we're still here, and we're still reaping the benefits of what you all did for us. So I think that because the world needed to kind of cover that with a blanket.
Hmm.
It was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Well, these poor people live savagely, and we'll treat them like that.
Yeah.
And that was not saying that, okay, these people don't have the same chances that we do because we literally fucking took from them for over 400 years, and we're still taking from them now. And it all every time we don't acknowledge that and give them what they deserve as people, and make us like in equal standing,
Mm-hmm.
then shit like that'll keep happening with them. So we'll just say, oh, that they're savage, and we'll be afraid of them, and we'll murder, and we'll give, we'll, like what the police are doing right now. You see black, you're scared. I was talking to a person this morning about it. It was like, oh, the perception of that the person is like, oh, I was listening to the David. Remember I was talking to you about listening to David Duke, and a lot of people gave him.
Let's clarify that. Rasan wasn't listening to David Duke.
David Duke. I was listening to a podcast called Slow Burn that had these episodes on just David Duke, and people that they talked to, they were like, oh, we made an excuse to listen to what David Duke was saying because of his demeanor. He talked really, like, he was really charismatic, and the way he looked like we should listen to him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you see somebody black, you're like, oh, he's scary. He's so back to the white people having this guilt of walking across the street when they see a group of black people. That's just how the world teaches them to view us. Legit, after saying all the shit that I said, I have a fucking right to move across the street because I don't know, like, everything that's come with you has been bad for black and brown people. Like, you could steal me, put me back in slavery, take my culture, take it away from me again. Like, all these things you could do just by me walking across. Like, I'm good. Let me cross the street. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, it's definitely different for us with them, and them for us. And I think the good thing about where we are now is that opening this up for conversation is the best thing that we could ever do.
Right.
Because then white people walking down the street, you don't have to be scared to walk past a group of black men or black women or black people if you've done your job making sure that where you took, you give back.
Mm.
And if you guys were equal, then that wouldn't be there. But as long as it's like this, then I'll get why you're scared, because we're not equal and we need to be.
When this George Floyd thing happened, I was actually thinking back, like the night after the George Floyd incident, I believe it was the night after, I had a Sketch Zone podcast. And if you go back to that night, like I went on this rant for some reason. The world was getting heavy. I didn't even know that it was getting heavy.
Heavy, yeah.
And then everything happened and all the protests and everything are happening. And I was going off on Facebook, like relentlessly.
Right.
And I was looking forward to saying things, and not even just like mean things. It's like the reason why these things continue to happen is because we're not listening to each other.
Right.
There's no understanding. Like, we're disconnected. Like, how could you have some of the most richest people to ever walk the planet, and at the same time some of the poorest people to ever walk the planet on the planet at the same time? And it's that whole equality thing, and it's the misunderstanding of things. Like, and I understand my place in society. I'm the gateway drug, whichever way you want to go, right? Brown kid speaks a little proper English. People feel a little comfortable, but I can get a little hood to make it a little more palatable, you know, because of where I come from.
Yeah, you're hood though. Like, you from Chicago, so
Right.
yeah.
And my life was extremely hard, and it's frustrating for me. And I've been thinking about, like, I don't know, writing a book or something and calling it Stuck in the Middle. Because I see everyone arguing, and I grew up, like, black people made me who I am. I work my ass off relentlessly because that's what I've learned from black people. And now that I've gone through and I had my career and everything was, but like, unfortunately, the truth is, the higher in your career you go, the more light the pigment is.
Sure.
And so as I'm maneuvering my career, I'm listening to the lighter brothers and sisters, and they're telling stories, and I'm just like, no, that's not how it goes. That's not, well, and there's a lot of times where, going back to this question, sure, there's gang banging, drugs, and whatever. But that's because that's what's left.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation on Midway Radio. That is what's left, because when someone wants to open a grocery store, now you're talking about someone that, because of the system, because of whatever, just because of maneuvering, because of having to make the decision, do I buy a sandwich or do I buy a can of spray paint, right? That's the level of folks that we're dealing with. So when you go to the bank to say, hey, can I get some money to start a grocery store? The bank is going to say, that's too risky. And so when you're trying to share that information with people and you're not listening, that's why I was snapping on Facebook. It's like, why are you sharing this report that, we'll just say, Fox News came out with about black and brown people, when I'm telling you I'm your gateway drug? Why are you going off of what they're saying when I'm giving you the complete different information because I'm tapped in?
So this is So the genius about what we're talking about right now is that this all has something to do with hip hop,
Right.
because hip hop has been telling these stories since the inception of it. And if you
Right.
would just listen to the stories,
Right.
then you would have known that we've been talking about this. I mean, before all this, but we found a way to tell you in song or in rhyme what's exactly going on in the hood. Like, you don't have to go to Fox News. You could have just went to Ice Cube. Like, he was telling you
Right.
exactly what was going on. Like,
Right.
the police are beating the shit out of us because they're racist fucking pigs. Like, that's what they have been, and that's what they are. This was 20 years ago when he made this album. This album is relevant today. Why is that?
Right.
Why are you guys acting like this is a new thing? George, you know how many George fucking Floyds there are? Like, 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 rest in peace. It's it's a thing.
Right.
Like it's so common with us that we're like, like it happens like daily, and white people know that it's a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they know it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about that the Jane Elliott thing, where she was just kind of like talking to the group of white people and was like, hey, like, if you think being black is okay, like, would you trade your skin tone?
Right.
Like, would you be black?
Right.
Like, raise your hand. And nobody
Right.
raises their hand.
I mean, Louis C.K. made it, and this is why I love comedians, and I will defend comedians
Yeah, comedians are.
forever.
Mhm.
Because very much like hip hop, they're telling you what's happening, but they make it palatable, right?
Sure.
They take a hard situation and they make it a little easier, right? So Louis
Yeah.
C.K., whatever your opinion is, whatever. But he had a bit where he was talking about how cool it is throughout history, how cool it has always been to be a white guy.
Mhm.
And if you find a time machine, if he were to find a time machine, he would definitely go back in time. He would never go forward in time. And the reason is, up until now, it's always been cool to be a white guy. The future, like, colored folks are going to wake up, and you don't know what the future is going to hold for white dudes.
But that's why it's been so scary. That's why I was saying the 80s, it was like, oh, we're trying, like, I feel like, this is personal, but I feel like in the 80s they were like trying to do damage control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like let's like this thing about race is really important. Let's capitalize off of it.
Yeah.
So that's why the music was different in the 80s. We worked together a lot in the 80s. Even though it was,
And let's not forget that in the 80s, hip hop was starting to pick up steam, and they still were not playing any videos on MTV.
no, so it's weird, but not. But all of the radio stations back then, like, nobody was welcoming to hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when hip hop was, gaining, traction, like in the clubs, like, radio was not having it. Like, they'd have slogans where they say, this is where hip hop lives. They had slogans like, we don't play that shit. Like,
Yeah.
like that's exactly. But now it's, oh, the number one station of hip hop and R&B. Like, so nobody was, and I think that's what made hip hop so special to us. It was ours. It was different. And ours meaning not ours meaning people of color, but ours meaning fresh people who understood. You know what I mean? Because there are definitely people that are not black and brown that understand exactly what the hell is going on then and now, and they are hip hoppers. Like, they understand the culture. So yeah, it all of this, all of it has to do, or all of it falls back, or has something to do with hip hop. you know,
Right.
in some form of fashion,
Right.
you know. And if you don't think that we was talking about like listen to an old Pac interview. Pac has been trying to tell people
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it's important. I think it's important to point out here where, like, sometimes you start like it's really weird because it starts to sound like conspiracy theory kind of things. But when you have people like Chuck D from Public Enemy, you have Tupac, you have NWA, Common, keep naming
yeah,
all these people that
X-Clan.
everyone knows,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They're telling you what's happening in the streets, but then, like you said, like when big money comes in, they're trying to control the narrative, and they're like, nobody wants to hear about that shit. Or they say you're too real. Maybe they're trying to hide the fact that the inner city is struggling, or
yeah.
they're trying to hide the fact that inequality is real.
Yes, that's exactly what they're trying to hide, which is the biggest thing. Like what I noticed today. Like there are people out here that feel like we are here. Like
Right.
like black people and white people. Like there's nothing holding you back, and you're just lazy or pull yourself up by your bootstraps, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And I'm pretty sure, like if they look at the history of what black and brown people have done for this country, we've done all the work. We've done all the work. America would not be what it is right now if it were not for us. Please, like, like, like,
And white folks are like the project manager.
that will kill you if you don't do.
Yeah, and I don't mean to laugh, but it's just kind of like
No, I get it. Like, yeah, it's laughable how
because
they
it's so
like
real.
people don't see. Yeah, yes, so like. I mean, Facebook is amazing to figure out who your friends is in a pandemic and like this racial tension that's been going on.
Man, I had to
You
put
know,
Facebook away. I was like, I'm tired of hating everybody I know.
look, I got a list of friends that I'm gonna be like, hey, you know you're racist, right? And if they say anything other than, yep, I
Yeah,
know,
my bad.
out of there, like. You just go one day. You just gonna start seeing my Facebook shit decline. Like, boop. I mean, I'm surprised you haven't seen it already, but the numbers decline. Like, yep, you're out of here. But yeah, but hip hop has been saying this all along, and
Yeah. And let me interrupt you one more time because again, going back to different conversations that I have,
yeah,
if someone comes and says everyone has opportunities to make it, what are you complaining about? Why are you still complaining about racism? And I'm like, do you remember Jesse Owens? Jesse Owens put his fist up in front of Hitler, and we're still fighting the same exact fight. So if you're tired of that complaint, give us something new to complain about. Stop doing the same dumb stuff and let's move forward. Let's leave that stuff behind. If you're tired of hearing it, imagine how tired people are of saying it.
and that's what I think. Like we're on this uphill battle of people just tired of saying it.
Right.
And it's like, all right, cool. You know what? We're tired of talking to you. We've talked to you. You can go back into the history books and figure it out. Now we're just gonna take it. We're just gonna do it ourselves, and that's really legit what's going on. I think the start of that is now. Because don't I don't want you to give me like before, maybe in the 70s or 80s, like we were looking to be like okay, cool, but now we understand that we can't, like, you're not allowing us to be together or allowing us to be cool.
Right.
And so we'll just do it ourselves.
I know that we got pretty heavy, but it is what it is. Like,
Well, hip hop is heavy.
yeah, it's reality, right?
Yeah.
But one of the more interesting things that I find as part of the hip hop culture is everyone's nicknames. Like we've said Chuck D, we've said Risky Business, we've said Sean Doe, we've said Artistic, we've said B
Hmm.
Boy B, we've said Ice Cube, we've said Special Ed, and all this stuff.
Common. Yeah.
Like where did the pseudo name come from, or like do we know?
I would think it's just fresh to have a moniker. Like
Yeah,
it's just fresh to have, another name to go by,
yeah,
other than your real name. You can't, my uncle, rest in peace. His all he had was nicknames growing
yeah,
up. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So nobody called him Ahmad. They called him Scooby, short for Scooby Doo. They called him like in the hood when he was doing his when he was doing his shit. They called him Tut.
Huh.
You know, so that was his hood name. Like I can go out here right now and holla at OGs and be like, Tut's my uncle, and they'd be like, respect. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Um, so I think it's just something with having a different name.
Hmm.
And I can tell like it's weird because my name comes from a couple of different things.
Mm.
Like my name comes from people not being able to pronounce my name correctly. Like,
I'm guilty. I'm sorry.
well, but so God rest my mother's soul too. So my mother used to wear this shirt. It was amazing. It had a picture of Ernie Bird on it. And it said San's mom because my name is Rasan, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's spelled Rahsaan. And it said San's mom. And it says pronounced RAH Ra
Ra.
San.
Son.
So people
Yeah.
can get what it is. But people be like, hey Rashawn, like
That's
people
me.
like, where did you get this from? So some of my friends would call me Ra, but that didn't stick.
Hmm.
But Sean did. And I was like, all right, cool. If people gonna call me Rashawn, I hate that, but I'll just go by Sean.
Hmm.
And what I'll do is I'll do graffiti under Sean. And it was gonna be Sean 111 because I lived on 111 the King Drive.
Hmm.
But that's shortened to Sean 1. And so if you ever see me tag, I write Sean 1.
Hmm.
And then growing up in the culture, me still being Sean 1, I DJ'd and I'm like, I don't want to stray away from my graffiti name so much. Oh, this is weird because all this is going to go back to my Midway, like whenever I interview for Midway. Like I'm honestly really giving you, that's what I would say. But so I found out that there was so I first started DJing under the name Sean O
Hmm.
because I just shortened the 1 into the O.
Right. Because it
And
just keeps getting more and more efficient.
yes. And what I found out while I was DJing under the name Sean O was there was another Sean O. And
Hmm.
normally in hip hop, what you do is, somebody has your name, you battle them for the name.
Hmm.
And then you make them like, all right, cool. If you battle them for the name, whoever's fresher gets the name.
Hmm.
And first off, respects to Sean O because Sean O is amazing. He's an amazing DJ. He's an amazing producer. He does mixing and mastering. He's awesome. He hears sounds that nobody else hears. He's amazing.
Hmm.
I knew that. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna battle this guy. Not being scared of him as
Yeah.
a DJ, but I was just
Just
like,
out of respect.
out of respect,
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. He can have Sean O. I need this money, so I'm just gonna be Sean Doe. and that's how Sean Doe
Yeah.
came about. And
That's dope.
and um and I've just stuck with it.
Yeah.
I've just stuck with it, and luckily, DJ Sean O was really in my early stages of learning how to DJ,
Hmm.
so it never really stuck. So when I started DJing out, I only used Sean O until I realized there was another one,
Yeah.
and that was like short lived. And Sean Doe has been the life of my DJ life for like the last past 20 years.
And similarly, my name is Carlos Gomez. Apparently, there's a whole bunch of Carlos Gomez's
There
out
are,
there. There's
there
an
are.
actor, there's a baseball player, there's na
Mhm.
na 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 na. So there's a
I've
lot.
Googled you, so yeah.
And so then a lot about, well, when I was in the army, they used to call me Go Go, for short for Gomez. And
Mm-hmm.
again, the efficiency kicks in. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you're in the middle of a basketball game and someone wants the ball, they yell go. And so that became my name.
Mm-hmm.
But then after I left the army, no one, like, in the army, everything is last names, right? Sergeant, da da da, Specialist Gomez, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So no one ever called me Go anymore. So I have a collection of humans that call me Go, 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 still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm out, I was like, well, people take my name, Carlos, and then shorten it down to Los.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm glad that you told me about battling, because there's no way in hell I'm going up against King Los. He can have it. I'll be, I don't know, court jester Los. Like, because I've heard him. He's got bars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, no battling.
You
No.
win
Yeah,
by
yeah, yeah,
default.
yeah.
So
King
with
Lo.
that, I mean, I was thinking about like my alter ego. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the Shady to Eminem. My alter ego is this cartoon character, and I'm almost there. I'm almost convinced that his name is going to be CG the MC, right? But CG is like computer graphics,
Yeah,
not necessarily Carlos Gomez.
yeah,
So it's a double entendre,
yeah, yeah.
which
He
is an
did that.
important part, of
Yeah, hip hop.
writing
Yeah,
writing
mhm,
for rap music and stuff like
yeah,
that. So those are a lot of things that we're going to be covering during this process, and obviously, when I get a wild hair, I'm going to be calling you up for guidance from time to
yeah.
time, and we'll continue to do these through this process. But if you're just watching, if this is the first video that you watch, I'm going to link the first episode of this series, so you can take a look at what's happening. So basically, I'm calling in favors for what I wanted to do was write. How do I say this? I want to show people how much work goes into every aspect of this, because it's a little heartbreaking when you go to talk to someone and they say, "Yo, I love your work. It's dope. Can you help me with the music video?" And their budget is, $400, $500. Meanwhile, you're kind of bragging about having stacks and girls and cars and big ass houses. You don't have funds for a proper music video. So I wanted to do this whole thing, and the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, we're entrenched in the hip hop community, specifically the Chicago hip hop community.
Yeah.
And so I was calling in some favors, and we're gonna bring light to this whole thing. And thank you for coming on and sharing some of the information that people might not know about hip hop. And so we're definitely going to be following up with some more stuff. You're part of the process now. That's it. Like, welcome.
Thank you for having me. This guy.
So yeah, we're gonna be working on this. I'm gonna be sharing as much as possible, and it's not just we're not just gonna be talking about just aspects of hip hop. We're gonna be doing the entire thing. We talked about Doug Infinite. He's going to be producing this track. We have Travis Blaze, who is going to be helping with some of the artwork and kind of coaching me. I have Jack Kasperzak that's going to help me with the visual storytelling. And yeah, we might have someone that's going to keep me on the right path when it comes to dope ass lyrics, because I'm not trying to have some trash ass
That's right.
lyrics.
You're not trying to be whack. Because
Yeah,
hip hop's not having that.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so what's going to happen is I'm going to write a song and I'm going to share with you guys the experience of writing the song, and then I'm going to work with Doug Infinite on producing the song. I'm going to work with Travis Blaze, Sketch to Animate, youtube.com/sketch to animate, or even sketch2animate.com. And there's already, all of this is going to be in a playlist. So all you have to do is subscribe. Well, number one, subscribe to this channel, but then also like take a look at the playlist. I'm going to be listing everything there. So all you have to do is go to the first video and hit play, and you'll see that I'm going to be working my way through. I'm going to write the song with coaching. I'm going to get the song produced with coaching. I'm going to do some character animation or character design with coaching, animating with coaching, storyboarding with coaching, all that stuff. So everyone can see the process of all of this that's happening. Hashtag hip hop life. There you go.
That's right.
And at the end of it, we're going to have a dope ass track. So with that, my friend, Sean Doe, if people want to find you online, please share with them your details where they can find you.
If you want to find me online, you can find me at DJ SEANDOE on Instagram and also Twitter. And if you follow Midway Doc on Instagram, you can always reach me there also.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Definitely check out Midway Documentary. You can go to midwaydoc.com, Midway Doc literally everywhere else. Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. And you can find me coconutjustice.com, Coconut Justice everywhere else. And that's part of the whole nickname thing, right? If I say Carlos, people don't usually know, but if I say Coconut Justice, I've been in rooms where people didn't really know my name, but when I said Coconut Justice, they're like, oh.
That's awesome.
So yeah, coconutjustice.com, Coconut Justice everywhere else. And that's it for this episode. Thanks again, brother.
Thank you.
It's always good to talk to you. We just put in 2 hours, not even trying.
Nope, not at all. We could probably put in 2 more. We'll save that for the next one.
That's it for us, everyone. Take care.